Investor summits are increasingly becoming the preferred platform for Indian states to attract foreign investments. These summits are also emerging as a platform for states to become an active stakeholder in economic diplomacy. The next report tells you more.
Investor summits are now a landmark in India's investment landscape. Several states have been holding them at regular intervals, bringing investors, the government and India's industry titans on one platform. The UP Global Investors Summit, the Vibrant Gujarat Summit and the Tamil Nadu Global Investors Meet are a few that have grabbed headlines this year. The MOUs running into billions of dollars that are signed during these summits help cement a state as an investment destination. Take a look at these figures. The recently concluded Investor Summit in Uttar Pradesh has already laid the groundwork for investments worth $120 billion. The Vibrant Gujarat Summit ended with MOUs worth $300 billion, while the Investor Meet in Tamil Nadu added over $70 billion to the state's kitty. Investor summits are a post-liberalization phenomena. Karnataka and United Andhra Pradesh pioneered them at the dawn of the 21st century. Many may argue that these summits also helped Bengaluru and Hyderabad establish themselves as tech hubs. They also signified the increasing prominence of foreign investments and the private sector in driving India's growth story. But investor summits are not just about MOUs and investment announcements. They have become an example of economic diplomacy and subnational diplomacy. As state governments shape the local economies, investor summits help states to become equal partners in India's economic development. State government pavilions at the Davos Summit are another example of states' increasing role in promoting exports, tourism and attracting investments. The centre too has acknowledged the role of the states in India's diplomatic outreach. In October 2014, it set up a states division to coordinate with states on their diplomatic endeavours. As India emerges as an economic power, state governments are becoming a key stakeholder in the country's quest to ace the world. Bureau Report, WION, World is One.
Earlier, our correspondent Adhya had a chat with Manjeet Kripalani, who is the co-founder and executive director of Gateway House, which is a foreign policy think tank in Mumbai. Listen in to what she had to say.
Joining us on WION, we have Manjeet Kripalani. She is the co-founder and executive director of Gateway House, a foreign policy think tank in Mumbai. Thank you for joining us. So Manjeet, how are investor summits by state governments helping India's economic diplomacy?
Well, the summits by state governments seem to have become very popular these days. We're seeing them quite often. They are quite grand affairs where it used to be initially that they had mostly domestic investors, but now foreign investors are coming. And part of it is, part of the foreign investor interest in this is because certain states have certain, they're just really good at industrialization. For instance, Maharashtra is Pune and Mumbai. Karnataka is really good on software, etc. Punjab is great in agriculture. And so it becomes a way for foreign investors to understand locationally how their investments are doing and to make to network with the states, the government officials of those states. And I think that this is great, but I don't know how much really they benefit. I think it's good for foreign investors to come and learn what's going on locally. I don't know how much Indian states are really being able to push the envelope for themselves. These are investments that are coming into India. They generally pick states ahead of time. So it's not as if they are starting to say, oh, this is where I came and this is what I saw in Mumbai. And I think let's start a new investment here. There are many MOUs that are signed. They're all very promising. But, a signed MOU means nothing unless it results in really solid new investment. So I'm not sure whether it's been that beneficial in terms of the states, but certainly for foreign investors to familiarize themselves with a location, it's been pretty good.
Can you put some light on how states are becoming a stakeholder in economic diplomacy?
This is a good question, and it is one that we have been asking for many decades now. India, because of its centralized government system, there really was no role for states to play, even though every single one of India's states, except say for 5 of them, share either a maritime border or a land border with various countries. The partition ensured that we have borders with what is now part of India, which are now other countries. None of this has actually been played to the benefit of India, partly because the partition was so volatile and so hostile. We are now starting to change that. So I think in 2014, when Mr. Modi came in, because he had done a lot of the diplomacy with Gujarat as a separate state, he knew how beneficial this could be. And so states are starting to play a role in India's foreign policy. The Northeast is a very good example of this right now. Our connection with ASEAN is the Northeast. There was a conference, there are conferences taking place almost every other week in the Northeast. And increasingly, countries like Japan, Korea, ASEAN countries like Thailand, etc., Singapore, are starting to participate because they understand that connectivity between these states is much easier, and also that there is cultural engagement and all cultural linkages between ASEAN and the Northeastern states that are very helpful. So I think that the states are starting to play a role, but there is one big issue, and the issue is that Indian states, again going back to centralization, we are starting to become a federal structure, but it's going to be long in the making. Indian states are used to getting money from the center. Very few are used to raising their own revenue. There are some state bonds, but cities like Mumbai city, which is such an international city, we really don't. There's been a long conversation for 25 years on raising bonds for the city, but it's much easier for the states and for India's big cities, to raise tax through old taxes like octroi, etc. And GST now has become, much better, but they haven't learned how to raise revenue. Unless a state can raise its own revenue, it really cannot play a very significant role as being an investment attractive destination. The second thing is that Indian states also do not have representative offices overseas. So even though we have so many Indian migrants going to the Gulf from, say, Kerala, etc., those states don't have an office where they do anything beyond migration issues. And similarly, the Ministry of External Affairs has something called the States Division. That division, I'm spilling over into another area of federalism, but that division was started in 2014, but it's been pretty inactive. There are 3 OSDs in the States Division, which is Officers on Special Duty, but there really is no Joint Secretary. So this is not something that the central government itself is able to push the states to do.
Thank you so much for joining us today and sharing your insights on this issue.
For all the latest news, download the WION app and subscribe to our YouTube channel.